Alright, hello, my name's Ned, and this is episode 3 of a series I call Ned's Declassified League Survival Guide, and in this series I'm going to be teaching you how to ward as a support. And some of the tips apply to warding as other roles, but mainly we're going to focus on support here. Now, initially I wanted to do some gameplay footage or just a custom game because I think it better illustrates the words, but my computer is a laptop and it's not capable of running the game without lag and recording the game without lag. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mini map, and we'll do red dots to illustrate where I would put the wards down. Maybe we'll do the spray paint icon, or spray paint thing, wherever that is. Do I not have it? Alright, whatever, doesn't matter. I'll use a pencil or paintbrush. So, and so what I want, so first we're going to focus on, we'll say we're blue side. And we're going to focus on where to put your wards as support. So if you're blue side, you're pushing this way. So the first place you're going to want to ward, if you're standing right there, or past this location right here, you're going to want to ward this brush. And so that way you can see people, if they come down here, they try to come behind you like this and get through that bush, because you're going to see them right here. And they won't be able to gank you, and you can just run back to your tower. But if you're pushed all the way up here, then you're going to want to ward the dragon pit as well as that bush, because then you can see people coming down this way, and you can see them coming through this way if you have a ward in the dragon pit and in the tri-brush. So that gives you complete vision for ganks. And what your AD carry should be warding is these two brushes down here, because if they ward those two brushes, then they don't have to leave the lane and miss CS to ward those, and you can be warding the brushes in the river, so you can have lane control with the wards and the brushes, and you cannot be ganked down the river and through try. Okay, so it's easy, right? We've established how to ward on that side for support to not get ganked. Next, we'll talk about the other side. Now, the other side is much easier. You need to ward right here in this brush, at the tip of that brush. And I wish I had gameplay footage to illustrate it, but you ward at the tip, the very furthest point that you can get it in the brush, so you can see them coming down the river, and that also gives you vision if they come right here. Now, if you're pushed all the way to this point, like if you're actually hitting the tower, you may need to ward try as well, and then you can put one in try and dragon. And honestly, it's good to get one on try and dragon if you can, but this bush typically will suffice right here. Because when you get one on try and on the dragon pit right here, you just put it right in the middle. You can see people coming from down here. You can see people coming from down here. And you can see people if they try to take dragon, like if the jungler tries to sneak it, right? Okay, next, after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some pink ward spots in lane. Okay, so one place I see people pink ward that's fucking stupid is right here. Nobody's ever gonna put a ward in that bush, a regular ward, especially if you're on if you're this team, put a pink ward, they might put a ward there, but then they'll just kill your pink ward. Like, how are you gonna get to that? So if you're on this team and you're pushing down this way, and you put a pink ward in there, the enemies are never gonna ward that bush. They have no. Why would they do that? It gives them vision of practically nothing, right? The only time you really ever ward that bush is if you're worried the jungler is going to come all the way around and tower dive you. But you don't need to waste a pink for that. You can just use a regular ward. Now, I like to be a Jew with my pink wards, meaning I like to give them a lot of reuse value so that they don't get killed immediately. They see a lot of people. I don't use them to deny vision from the enemies. I use them to see my enemies rather than deny. So I want to see my enemies rather than not be seen by my enemies. Does that make sense? Okay. So if I'm on the side, I very rarely sometimes pink this bush right here, because you can defend it. You want to be able to defend your pink wards, because if you pink that brush right there and you're pressuring right here, they're never going to be able to really push you back and then take that ward unless they're winning the lane. And if you're winning the lane, you don't really want to pink there. Where I like to pink if I'm losing is right here. If I'm on this side pushing this way. So I pink right there, and then I pink the tip of this brush, right? If you can see where the pencil tip is. and then that gives me vision of this whole area, and I can see a jungler if he comes through here and ganks down here, and that gives me a lot of warning to see if they're going to come through there. And I can also see if the jungler wants to take our raptors, or maybe even if he, and then I can also see if he tries to enter here to take the red, and I've warded try, so I can see if he enters here to take the red. So it helps my jungler out, okay? So that's a good pink ward spot, especially if you're losing for in lane. Now, a decent pink ward spot sometimes is this little brush right here. It's just a single brush, and I'm not wild about that one. It's okay. It might kill a ward for you. It might spot you some vision. It might bait out an enemy, but for the most part, that's not a good pink ward spot. Now, I'll illustrate some more pink ward spots later, but right now I want to go into taking dragon. So I'll talk a little bit about dragon as an objective, but I'm not going to get too in depth into it because I think that's a whole nother video. What you want to do for dragons most of the time is when the jungler makes a play down bot lane, kills the enemies, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 if it's a counter gang, then that's great. You go, you run up and you take the dragon, or you take first tower. First tower is kind of strong right now because it gives you a huge bonus. But let's say somebody's already taken their first tower bonus, so you want the dragon instead. So you go to the dragon. Now what the support should be doing, rather than hitting the dragon right now, is if you're on this side pushing this way, you want to have the support go ward over this wall right here. You can place it. You can stand in the river and ward over that way, or same deal. You can stand in the river and place one over that way. Then you can see people coming down this way to contest, and you can see people coming down this way to contest. And hopefully your mid lane either warded this or warded the single brush, so you can see people coming from mid. But you have minions there anyway, so you're most likely be able to see people coming from mid. Okay. So then you have all the points of entry that can be seen by, so you can see enemies coming in to try to contest the dragon. And then it's pretty much a free dragon from there, right? Okay, so now that we've got that established, how to ward for dragon control on this side, let's talk about the other side. So same deal. Your jungler comes, ganks. You want to take the dragon. So you want to ward. Again, you want to ward the tri-brush because you don't want them to just come up through here and kill you. So you ward the tri-brush. Then you want to ward over this wall. Maybe you have an offensive pink in that same brush, same spot, the tip, so you can see people on this side of the wall, and you can see people coming through this way. It's a great. I can't stress how good that pink ward spot is. But what you just want to make sure you can see, like if a Lee Sin wants to come dragon kick over the wall. That way you're ready for him. You can maybe, if you're playing Johnny, you can monsoon him back. Maybe the jungler has some kind of CC and then can smite it when he CCs him. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that you want to have the vision over the wall. But that's a pretty simple one. Most people know how to put those wards down, especially from this, if they're playing this side and they can just ward over the wall. These other two spots right here and right here, they're a little bit less known, but that's okay. That's what the video is for. So now I want to talk about how you should be warding into the mid and late game. And you really need to have a mentality about it. This is not so much specific tips and tricks and spots, but this is how you need to be thinking about the game when you're playing support. And this will change the way you ward, and this will, hopefully it impacts the way everybody wards, because man, have I been getting some abysmal supports at warding in my recent games. Whenever I'm playing support, that little number that shows up when you press your button to place a ward down, it tells you how many wards you have placed. It's always 3 of 3, and if it's not within the next 30 seconds, I get it to 3 of 3. It's a mission of mine. That's how you should be thinking about warding a support. Same with the pink ward. The pink ward should always be 1 of 1. You should always have, as a support, 4 wards on the map at all times. And if you don't, then that's a problem. You should be looking to get those 4 wards on the map. Okay, so what you're doing as a support when you're running around is you're thinking about high priority areas to ward. So in front of the dragon pit and in front of the baron pit, those are clearly great places to ward. You're seeing 2 major objectives of the map. But also, if you're winning, if you're getting, you can be thinking about wards as an objective. So you get a pick on their jungler, and you say, hey, maybe I want to ward over here so that I can see the raptors, or maybe I want to ward this little brush over here in between the raptor camp and the wall, and then you can see people coming in that way. Or if you're playing this side, you want to put a pink in this brush over here, just like on the other side, how you put it in the tip, like that. Same thing applies. Those brushes are always great. You always want to see the red side jungle, because raptors are a very coveted camp that the jungler wants, and you can see them coming through for baron ganks or dragon ganks. Like, it's just, those are great spots. I can't stress that enough. Now, if you're really winning as a support and you're playing on this side, you're you're playing on the blue side, pushing to the red side. And you're roaming around. You get a pick, or you know where all the enemies are, so you think you can get some deep wards down. You're gonna run this way. You're gonna put a regular ward in this brush. You're gonna put a regular ward in this brush, and then you're gonna pink the very, very tip of this brush. And you know you can put it in the brush because your little cursor turns green. The green cursor means it's in the brush, and you want to get it on the very edge of that brush so you can see red camp. You can have vision of all of red camp, and you can see the jungler taking it. That's my way of warding. That's not, some other people like to put wards down to kill enemy wards. I put them down so I can be a Jew and I can see enemies on that ward for the whole entire game, the rest of the game. I put a ward right there at 5 minutes into the game, and it was a 30-minute game. They never killed the ward. That's how good that spot is. Now, that's not always going to happen. Oftentimes, they do end up killing the wards. But then you just replace it. You either put it right here if you're winning, here if you're really winning, or you can if you know you can, or here if you're losing. Okay, so we've talked about some pinks and objective controls, and I really want to reiterate how when you're running by these coveted spots, so right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, really these offensive spots that you can get good wards, even these little brushes right here in front of Baron, all of those spots that I have marked red right now, and if you're on the other team, I'll mark those too. You want to right here, right here, right here, right here, on the blue buff. The buffs and objectives, those are places, if you're running by them, put a ward down. It's always going to benefit you. Especially if you're winning, you can be replacing your wards. You can, even if you have 3 of 3, you can still put more down. It's not a bad thing to do that. You want to be warding at places where the next objective you want is going to spawn. So if Dragon's going to spawn in a minute, you want to ward Dragon, you want to ward here, and you want to ward here. Or if you're on the other team, you want to again ward Dragon, and you want to ward the tri-brush, and you want to ward over the wall, and you want to put pink right there. It's really simple things, but a lot of supports don't have it in their head that they need to be doing this as they're running by the locations, and they don't have it in their head that vision is an objective in and of itself. If you can see the enemies, it's an advantage. Okay, and another point I want to make is if you're winning, particularly, the deeper your wards are, the better. The earlier you can see your enemies, the faster you can get your information, the better. So, again, these spots, if you're pushing like this, these spots that I'm circling are the best spots. Because they give you vision of the enemies as quickly as possible in highly trafficked areas. That's the thing I want to point out. So what makes these pings right here, and right here so great is those areas are highly trafficked by players, and those bushes are hardly ever ran through when they're run by. So you can see enemies coming through those spots the whole game, but they'll never see the ward. And that's how I like to use my pinks. But we can talk about, if you're playing fiddlesticks, you might want to use your pinks to deny vision. And so you can ult over walls. So there's different ways to use your pinks, but for now we're talking about the way I prefer to use them. Okay, one final tip, and I think I'll close the video out with this, is when you're playing support, you obviously get a Sightstone. So what you should be thinking about when you're backing to get your Sightstone is, hey, I don't need this warding totem anymore. I'm going to trade my trinket out for a sweeper, because if you have the Sightstone, you don't need the warding totems. You can only have a maximum of 3 wards on the map at the same time. So you want to be putting your trinket to vision denial because you already have the vision tool in your inventory. Alright, thanks for watching my video on how to ward as a support and otherwise. Thanks. Hopefully you learned something. Alright, have a good day.